Mr. Griffith, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Now, you've been quoted as saying that the departmental forecasts for 2022-2023 were already warning about a surge in demand and applications for passports. Can you explain what was suggested, what was known, what was forecast?
Well, the plan makes it clear that the department expected a surge given the expected end of the pandemic and given a relaxation of travel restrictions. So that was certainly known to the policy folks that worked on the departmental plan. What is less clear is how that information was transferred or transmitted or acted upon or not acted upon by Service Canada, which actually delivers the processing and the in-person service.
Is it, to you though, is it conceivable that this would not be passed on? This is the basic functioning of one of the core functions of the federal government.
I think it must have been passed on, and I think the ESDC plan also makes mention of this. So I don't think it was a question of the information not being passed on. I think it's more a question that the information wasn't acted upon.
Why would it not be acted on? I mean, we're looking at this crisis now where people are canceling holidays and camping out in front of passport offices. Why do you think it would not be acted on?
Well, unfortunately, sometimes there are other factors, other priorities that get attention, and a regular program like Passport, which by and large is generally under the radar for most of the time, gets missed over. So I don't actually know exactly what happened, but it is really startling, that disconnect between what was in the plan and what actually happened in the images you're showing now of lineups.
Mm-hmm. Some people suggested that Service Canada already before the pandemic was having problems, structural problems and service delivery problems. During the pandemic, they were definitely busy and many offices were closed. Could this be pandemic related? Like if we have a fatigue, we have, I don't know. Do you have any other explanation for it?
Well, obviously, everybody, whether in government or in the private sector, has a certain level of COVID fatigue. But we really do count upon government to meet its core responsibilities, or if not able to do it, to communicate in advance of those difficulties, some of the ways that people can alleviate it. And so, if you can't fix it, at least you communicate better.
Yeah, raise a red flag. Okay, I want to put to you some of the measures that have been announced. I mean, this week, the minister has been announcing yet another wave of measures. She's announcing a triage process where managers are going to wade into the lineups at passport offices in Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver. And they will then have a first contact with people who have immediate flights in 24, 36, 48 hours. What do you make of that measure?
I think it's helpful, because I think one of the things that drives most people crazy if they're in a lineup is not knowing where they are in the lineup and how long it's going to take. And so if you have people sort of wandering through the lineup and doing that triage, I think it gives people a sense that at least they're being listened to and that they're going to be treated at some point in time in the process, depending on their priorities triage.
Now, does that go very far, though, to addressing the core issue, which is these huge delays, the backlog in processing cases?
Oh, it alleviates it, but it doesn't solve the core problem. No, but I think for some people it will make a difference, and for the people that in lineups actually sort of not getting any news for 3 or 4 hours, it should make a difference as well.
The minister's also announced a crash hiring program and training of new passport officers. She says there's even possibility of transferring some personnel from other departments like Stats Canada. How long does it take to train enough people to deal with the backlogs? You're aware of the extent of the backlogs.
I don't have a precise figure for you, but I mean, there are parts of the passport process that are relatively straightforward in terms of training somebody so they can go through a passport application form and check that it's complete. That's probably fairly straightforward. When you get in actually sort of processing and decisions in terms of whether to grant the passport, that's more complex, and that may take some more time.
Okay. The worst of the crisis, we're showing, a lot of the images we're showing are especially in Montreal. The crisis seems to be so much more acute in Montreal, where we see the people camping overnight. Any idea or any inkling about why the situation may be so much more acute in Quebec region?
I really don't know. It may be the fact that they have fewer offices in the Montreal, so everybody goes to the main office and there are longer lineups, but that's speculation on my part.
Okay. What needs to be done? What still remains to be done? And how confident are you? And what time frame do you think we'll see before they can get some of these backlogs reduced?
I think we're probably talking about a number of months. Backlogs usually take time to deal with. Training takes time. The system takes a while to gear up. Will we have? Certainly by the end of the summer, the peak travel season, there shouldn't be problems. But that doesn't help the people who are in lining up right now.
Yeah, you're aware of the political balance that one makes in these sort of things. You're talking about a peak travel season. If these problems persist throughout the entire travel season, politically, there's going to be a lot of people very angry at the government.
Well, I mean, I really get concerned about these kinds of issues in terms of the level of trust in government, because if people perceive that the government can't deliver on its core responsibilities, and which passport is obviously one of them, it may cause them to lose trust in government and faith that the government can address other problems. And we've seen this not only in the case of passports, but we see it in healthcare with respect to provinces. We see that at the other delays at the airports and the like. So I think it's actually a broader issue than just passports.
Okay, Mr. Griffith, thank you very much. Thanks for speaking with us.
Thanks so much for having me.